You ready to record?
Hello, and welcome to Be Inspired to Be Inspired, where everyone has a story to tell. We'll talk about fertility, the love inside, with the beautiful Shelley Vidal. Thank you, Shelley for being with us today. There are so many things that I want to inquire about, and we're going to talk about, babies and choices and, all the good things that a woman is able and capable to do without a man. So, of many things.
Sort of. We still kind of need them a bit. Yeah.
So educate us on that. Educate us on that. So my first question to you is, what guided you to make a decision about the choices that you made with fertility?
Fertility. Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll start off by saying that I come from a fairly decent sized family. I'm one of four children. My parents immigrated to Canada from Trinidad and Tobago, from the Caribbean. And yeah, and so they instilled the importance of family values and family togetherness and community from a young age. We all knew that, and we all of my siblings and myself just really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And like many children of parents who are immigrants, I was really focused on my studies, my academics. I wanted to make sure that I graduated high school and then went to college and, got a job and was climbing the corporate ladder and doing all the things and then making the money. And I wanted to travel and I wanted to do all the beautiful things.
Everything.
And yeah, because
yes.
Why not?
Why not?
And I was dating and doing all that fun stuff, meeting people, and eventually got married, and then that didn't work. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have children, and I found myself in a position where I was not with a partner. I had this deep desire to be a mother. I had that desire for years, and I didn't know how I could make that a reality initially.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if it was going to be through adoption, or if it was going to be through fostering, or if it was going to be with, meeting a partner and then having a child.
Mm-hmm.
But as time progressed and I saw certain barriers in place, when it looked like adoption, could be a very lengthy process, and can be also quite costly.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I really wanted to give myself an opportunity to see if it was possible to have a biological child. If it was for me, great. And if it wasn't, then that's okay. So that's kind of what led me down that idea and path of, I wonder if I can have a child, and this idea of fertility. What are my options to have a child?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So with that road to your decision, what were some of the challenges that you faced? Because one, to decide to, go solo in that venture, and you did make it clear that it's not so much going solo, because you will need a man for something, and we're going to get into that. But after you made that decision, what were some of the challenges?
Yeah, so I would say after I made that decision to move forward, oof, the challenges, some of them were, I think, I'm trying to think of the part like leading up to starting IVF when I've made that decision.
And for those of us who may not know, because, to me, this is something that I've heard about. I've never met someone who actually went through with this process. So it's an honor, you know. So the terms that you're using, can you just elaborate on what it means?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so IVF, and I am by no means a medical expert or anything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. But you
But
know.
but IVF is in vitro fertilization. So essentially, that's when the fertility clinic will extract your eggs,
Mm-hmm.
and they have your eggs there, or either you may have donor eggs depending on, you know, whatever your situation is. And
Mm-hmm.
then there is sperm, and the egg and the sperm are put together, you know, in a petri dish kind of thing, and they
Mm-hmm.
get to do their magic, and hopefully the egg fertilizes, and then you have an embryo who would then, the embryo would then be transferred back to the woman's body, and hopefully implant and grow and
Okay.
become the healthy baby.
Okay.
So that's
Thank
just
you
in
for the
layman's terms.
explanation. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
That brings
yeah,
a lot of clarity. So, you know,
yeah.
what were your challenges?
I would say leading up to, like, when I said, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this, I think right before I was like, well, am I going to be able to afford it? That was something that
Okay.
came up, I would say, just before, when I was like, yeah, I think I want to do this, but can I afford it? Because I hadn't really, some people might be planning and, you know, saving for this, knowing that this is what they're going to do. Or some people have partners and they still are going through IVF, and they have, you know, a savings plan that they're, you know, going to use for that. That wasn't really
So I have a
my,
question.
yes.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So
That's okay.
if you have a partner that is
Yeah.
doing this with you, would it be
Mhm.
cheaper or not?
Uh,
It's still the same.
well, it depends, right?
Okay.
Because it depends on people's insurance coverage,
Mm-hmm.
and it depends on if that partner has, like, for I'm using the case of like a man and a woman.
Okay.
So does the man have sperm that can be used for
Got
IVF?
you. Okay.
Some men have low sperm counts, so they can't.
Got
Some women have eggs where, you know, they can't use their eggs or don't have eggs, so they have to get surrogate eggs, right?
Mhm.
So it just depends. There's no guarantee. And if you maybe have an egg, or eggs, and you have sperms that you already can use, then you don't need to have that additional cost.
Okay.
So
Okay.
those could be factors involved in the costing of it. I was able to use my own eggs, luckily, and I had to get donor sperm. So there was a cost associated with that. So yeah, I think that that was a factor, the financial part of it. The other factor is just the emotional side of it, going through it, and wondering if one can do it on their own.
Mhm.
And I think when someone is going through it for the first time, they don't necessarily know what to anticipate. So it's like, well, yeah. But I think after you've gone through it and you've had a child, like, okay, yeah, it's going to be work, right? And some people do this multiple times as solo parents, or single mothers by choice is another term that some folks use.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so that could be another challenge that comes up, is just the emotional impact of doing this alone, and what does that mean? Do you have the supports in place to to be by your side in your village while you're going through this journey? So
Did
I
you
think those are the two that come up. Mhm.
That's beautiful. Did you find that your employer allowed you the same benefits as if, you know, you would have received if you were to have conceived um, in a normal route?
Well, yeah, I in a more traditional, you mean?
Yes, traditional. Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. That's okay. Yeah, we like, I'm
Educate
a little,
me and correct me. Yes,
that's
yes.
okay. Hey, you know what? This is part of the learning process, and I
Absolutely.
had to do a lot of learning in this journey as well, right? And there was like
And
meeting
it's
with
phenomenal
counselors.
because not a lot of people know about it. You know,
Yeah,
we hear about Gabrielle Union or we hear about other people that are in the limelight, and that's all you hear is
yeah,
the choice they've made, that they have made. However, we never get to understand the full concept or everything that it entails, and now we can, and thank you for that. So
thank you.
yes, forgive me for any
Oh
misconception,
yeah, no,
um,
no, it's all
and
fine, it's
yes,
fine.
correct me and educate me. That's, you know, that's the beauty of being able to come together and understand each other. So yes, thank you for that. This is wonderful.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
will did your employer look at things the same way as if it was traditional?
Yeah, I absolutely. I'm fortunate to live in a country where we can have between 12 to 18 months parental leave. So
Wonderful.
yeah, I took
Because
advantage
it's
of that.
still, I mean, it's still the same. Why
Yep,
would they look at
yeah,
it
yeah,
differently? And I'm so happy to hear
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I was still pregnant and I gave
Yeah.
birth, and I'm very fortunate that yeah, our benefits cover not only if I had you know, well, when I delivered my daughter, the
Mhm.
parental leave, but even if folks adopt children, there's parental leave for that as well, right? So
Wonderful.
we have pretty good benefits at my with my employer.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. That's wonderful. So it sounds like after you made that decision, you had some challenges, but not a lot that really stood in your way to, you know, do what you wanted to do. Um, would you say that there was a lot of resources? So once you made that decision and you had your support around you, you know, that village, what were the outside resources? And, you know, was there um, opportunity to receive, like, for example, with any new thing, especially being a new mom, you know, is there, you know, a support group, especially being with the way that you chose, you know, is there a support group that helps this new mom? And is there a, what were
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
resources that were there for?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was such
Because
an
there's someone out here who has thought about doing this, but maybe didn't know how to go about doing it, didn't know anyone like you that, you know, has done it, you know.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, so absolutely. So it was really interesting because when I started the process, we were very much so in the still in a high pandemic state. The
Mm.
fertility clinic was actually closed for a while because
Mhm.
everything kind of shut down with the pandemic. And so when I started the fertility process with IVF, they had recently reopened. So the timing was just right. And we know that everything was ultra like sterilized and clean because everybody was hyper aware of
Yeah.
everything, right? And
Uh-huh.
so that was again very interesting time to go through this process. I will say that I have a cousin of mine who went through the process, and she was an amazing support.
Awesome.
Again, just sharing her experience with me and being very open, very transparent, allowing me to ask questions about her journey and
Mhm.
her success.
Mhm.
And it was by hearing her experience that I was really inspired and given the courage to say, I can do this. And so I know how that impacted me in my decision. And I thought if I wrote a book, maybe it would help impact others who are thinking about that. Yeah. In addition to that, I had my sister, who has twin boys, and they're awesome. She and another good friend of mine encouraged me to seek out a doula. And I was like, wait, what's a doula? What are you talking about? What do they do? And it was, they were like, just start researching. They're great. They both had doulas in their delivery.
Just for purposes, tell us all what a doula is.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, the doula is there to offer that emotional support to not only the mother, but also the partner, whoever is, if there is a partner, right? So family support and also the mother leading up to delivery, during delivery, and post delivery.
Yes.
Yeah, and
it was so key and important.
It was a game changer for me. Okay. I think of them because I had two doulas. I think of them as my little angels. They were like, their names are Steph and Michelle, and they're phenomenal as far as we would have our meetings. We first met on Zoom for the first time, and we were just laughing, so much laughter, so much joy.
That's wonderful.
Hilarious, like educational and entertaining. So edutainment and just belly aching laughter with a big old belly, pregnant belly, right? And it was just fun to learn more about my, dig a little deeper into my value system and what's important to me, and understand more of the birth journey, and understanding how I could advocate for myself and how they could support me in advocating for myself during the delivery in particular, helping me kind of visualize what is it that I want that delivery to look like. Is it going to be a home birth or a hospital birth? Like, what do you want? So just taking the time to kind of mentally prepare and also learn and understand what that mother wants, and just be there to hold your hand, and the birth bag when you need it, literally during delivery. And it's just, they were a huge source of support for me throughout the pregnancy, as well as other family members for sure.
Beautiful.
And friends. So I would say like those are a couple of things that stood out as far as helping me in the decision after I made the decision to help make the process a bit easier.
So that's beautiful. So it is encouraging to know that you can be whatever you want to be in life, as successful as you want to be, and still conceive. And that is important because, I have the privilege to know a young lady who thought about the same thing. And, she had naysayers say, oh, no, just do things the traditional way, or it's going to cost you a lot of money, So this is fabulous because anyone who has, a question, you have, laid out everything that a person would want to know. And you have, discussed your feelings in a wonderful presentation. And if you would hold that presentation up, it's your memoir. You only need what?
One good egg.
One
you
good
only
egg.
need one good egg.
Yes. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. That's my beautiful daughter with me.
Aww. She is something else. Beautiful cover as well. So tell us, you are so fascinating. So you have, discussed with us your choice You took us from your choice to your challenges. And within those challenges, you told us about the resources and the family and your doulas that, played a awesome part in bringing that beautiful baby here. So next step, you put all that into a wonderful book that if anyone needed the resource, they can, tune in to this book. Tell us how we can get this book and how, everything that you put into writing this book.
Sure. So the book is available on Amazon. I've got the paperback available, and also people could also order the ebook if that's what they prefer. And I just want to share one thing. When I wrote this book, I didn't set out to be an author years ago. This was never my idea and my hope of like, oh, I'm going to become an author. That was never at the front of my thought process. As I mentioned earlier in our conversation, after going through this process, I really thought it would be impactful to share my story, or our story, my daughter and my story, with others who are entertaining the idea of what if. And I also want to share that my story is my story, and it may not be, it may not happen that way for other people. So I think that's important to share as well, because I when I went through the process, I was fortunate to have the eggs that they extracted, and they tried to fertilize. All of them fertilized. There were 3 that they extracted and 3 fertilized, and apparently that's not as common. And I was successful in the first round, and apparently that's not always as common. So yes, and that's why it's called You Only Need One Good Egg, Manifesting a Miracle. Because it's important for folks. Because I don't want folks to think like, oh yeah, it's just easy peasy, I'm just going to go through IVF and I'm automatically going to have a baby. Because that's kind of like people making the assumption that in the traditional way, like I just need to get with a man, get pregnant, and have sex, get pregnant, that's it. That's writings on the wall, we're done deal. But that's not always the case, right? Oftentimes people can get pregnant, or if they get pregnant, they can still miscarry. And if they miscarry, then sometimes people get in a cycle of IVF after IVF after IVF, and it can be a lot of debt, right? And there's so many things involved. And I think that's something that folks also need to just
complex. It sounds very complex.
It is.
And you have been ever so blessed to be able to, have that one try, that first and only try. That's wonderful. But it sounds very complex.
It is. And that's the thing, that until you go into this world, you may not understand. And kind of to circle back to one of your other questions about support, I found, and I'm still finding now, that there's a lot of different groups or podcasts that folks can tap into to learn more about this world, so that they're not as overwhelmed and feeling alone if they're doing it on their own, right? So there are resources out there, and at the same time it can also be just overwhelming. And that's one of the things my cousin and I spoke about. It's like, do you want to join some of the Facebook groups ahead of time, because it can be overwhelming, and you can also be inundated with folks who have not had such a positive experience, and that can impact some people's mental health, right? When you're always hearing about another failed attempt, you can be like, oh my gosh, is that going to be me? So these are all things to just keep in mind. And for me, it was really important that I protect my bubble of my mental health. And so that meant just really being mindful of who I shared my information with, the story with, and my journey with in the initial stages, right? Because I was very protective of my little egg.
Yeah, as any mother would be. And,
Yeah.
I also would like to say, I see so many other benefits that you can share with so many people, because this is just the beginning of your journey, just the beginning, and your daughter is even going to have a story to tell, because of your choices, she's going to embrace a whole challenge, and it's going to be, how could I say this? Something that not only you as a strong mother, her aunties as strong moms, and being a strong auntie, and the whole village that you're going to have still supporting that egg. Because even though they grow older, she's still going to be your baby that you're going to protect. This is phenomenal, because it's a continued story that no matter where you are in this story, it's going to help someone else, because you're going to go through. And I hope that you continue to have much success in everything that you're doing. And I am more than hopeful and thankful that you're going to continue to bring that positive energy to you that people have, because you've done a phenomenal thing. I've never understood it until now, and I thank you for that. As like I said, I know someone who inquired about this, and I didn't even know what to say. I just could listen, but at least now I can say, well, blah 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 blah, and I have this wonderful book that you can read, and point them your way. So that's good. That's each one teach one. And I thank you for the lesson taught today. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love that. And that's what my hope is for women who've read this book. Share it with other women who would benefit from it. Share it with your daughters, your nieces, your girlfriends,
yes,
and the partners, because my hope is that my book allows not just women who are going through the journey to understand it, but also the family members that are part of that women's village.
Absolutely.
Right? Because I talk about leading up to it, pregnancy, and then postpartum. And so it takes readers through that whole roller coaster of stages of motherhood. And I think it's really important that people understand that, because as a first-time mother, I had no idea of some of the things. And if you rely on Hollywood and TV, where it's they show you that a woman gives birth in 45 minutes, and for the end of the episode, she's done, and everything's pretty. And I'm like,
yes.
The reality is not so right. And it's like, oh yeah, the baby's just so clean and lovely and la la la. Yeah, it's very different in the delivery room. And or for some people who have home births, again, it's a different experience. And then when you're in that hospital room with you and the baby, and just the two of you alone together, and you are in charge of this helpless little being, right? Like, that's real. Right? And it's important
reality
to
sets
share
in.
that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Reality sets in. And then more work begins.
That's correct.
Yeah. But you are a phenomenal mother. Yes, you are. And I can't wait to read your next book because I know there's going to be another one. It has to be. Yes. And there are at least two people I know that it's going to be passed along to. So thank you. Thank you so much for your time, for your endurance, and your patience.
Well,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you for this beautiful conversation. It warms my heart. I get excited sharing my experience with others because I really want to encourage folks and motivate folks. And the reality is, it doesn't matter what it is in life. I think this, I was having a conversation with another individual, and they were mentioning how in the title, you only need one egg. It could be for anything, like, it could be just associated with just that opportunity for anything in your life. And I think that it's so important that we can potentially just hear these stories, to just take that leap of faith when we have fear standing in front of us.
Yes.
And potentially blocking us, and to just take that step, one step at a time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Be encouraged. And you knocked that right off. You hit that ball. I'm telling you, and you are so right. Your book means a lot, and it means a lot more than you can take that one egg and make it whatever it is. It could be the decision to move across country. It could be the decision to, find that new job. It could be the decision to, stand up for whatever it is that you feel important to stand up for. Just do it. Just make that choice, make that decision on what you want to do, and do it.
And find your tribe, find your village.
Find your village. That's beautiful. Yes. And if it's not working for you, start again.
That's right.
Okay. As long as you start again.
That's right. As long as you have breath in your body, there's an opportunity. And it may not happen the way you see for things to go. There may be another way. There may be a detour, right? Because again, if you asked me 10 years ago, 20 years ago, if I would have anticipated that this is how I would have become a mother, I would have been like, no, I don't know what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
And at the same time, this is my reality, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I think
I know that's
when I look at my daughter, it's perfect. Like, she's perfect.
Yes. And the journey was already predestined. Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and we will meet again. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and take care.
You too.
All righty.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.